Scramble your joysticks, it's Flying Shark. Flying Shark is a 1987 Taito vertical shoot-'em-up in the style of, well, all their other vertical shoot-'em-ups from this era. The game is called Sky Shark in America, and indeed the PC version of the game is called that, but we'll come to that in a minute because we're going to start off on the Atari ST, home ports in the UK by Firebird, and coded by Catalyst Software on the ST and the C64. Sorry, Catalyst Coders. And the music is by Jazz C. Brooke of Binary Design fame. So off we go. We are a World War I style biplane. And you have to shoot the enemy planes, and you get power-ups to increase your firepower. Now, the power-ups only come when certain waves appear on the screen. And watch out for the tanks here. This game is a memory test. And you can also drop bombs that wipe out everything nearby. And I just picked one up there just now. I'll be saving those up. I've got 4 of those at the moment. And I died. Got 3 now. And it's just a question of powering your way through the levels, of which I think there's 4. Over to the Amiga. Different coders, although the menu screen acknowledges the use of the ST code base. And it's a lot smoother and, as a result, far more pleasant to play than the ST version. This version was given 68% by Zap64. Right, going to wipe those people out. There we go. And... oh, game over. Yeah, you have to wipe all those planes out, and then you get the power up. Over to the PC. Couldn't get any sound working, so we're going to have no sound at all. I'm sure there is sound. Just the version I've got doesn't offer me any options at all. And yes, EGA graphics with all that brings, the joy and attractiveness of it. There's not even any PC beeper sound. So, of course, it is particularly ugly. The plane has inertia, which the other versions don't have. This, of course, is coded in the USA, unlike the UK 8-bit versions and 16-bit versions. Yeah, so the plane has inertia, which is most unwelcome. Because the longer you hold the key down, the more it speeds up. And it takes some getting used to when you're flicking between the other versions and this. Something about EGA graphics that are particularly ugly in the way that, say, the Spectrum, which we're now on, isn't. And this version is coded by Graft Gold. Quite highly rated. Sinclair used a 10 out of 10. Your Sinclair 9 out of 10. The sprites are, however, very small. You'll see there's Player 1 and Player 2 referred to. That is that isn't co-op gameplay. It's turn-based, and it's just a way for Graft Gold to save some screen real estate so they can keep the game moving nice and fast. It reminds me of Swift, which of course is a far later game. All done in 2 colours, nicely scrolling. And over to the Amstrad version, with a nice loading screen, programmed by British Telecom. Don't think it was. I don't think British Telecom programmed the game. The Amstrad version, it could have gone one of 2 ways, obviously, colourful and mode 0, or this in mode 1, and a specky port with more colour. Amstrad Action gave us 73%. Which is kind of... it's that score, isn't it, as Amiga Power always joked. What you'd put a game in at 50%, really, in any other magazine. These little bases further down on level 1, tanks can emerge from them. And I have got a power up by shooting one of those enemy waves that released a bonus. So now I can shoot 3-way. There's no exotic weapons in this. It's all basically that you can shoot more at once. But here's a big tank thing, which I need to shoot. Over to the Commodore 64. This version isn't by Graph Gold as you might think it would be, because the Spectrum and Amstrad versions are by Graph Gold. No, it's by Catalyst coders, like the ST version. And it does this strange scrolling from left to right thing. And I've died. It is quite a hard game and quite hard to see the enemy bullets. One of the reviewers on Lemon 64 called this boring rubbish, but some of the other reviewers gave it positive reviews. I didn't actually note down what this... Oh, no, I do have a review score for the C64 version. From Ace, they gave it 735. They gave the CPC 784 and the Spectrum 893. It moves nicely, has a decent soundtrack. As I say, it does this strange scrolling from left to right thing. Level layouts feel slightly different, but I could be wrong there. We'll have to see as we go on. The graphics do look a bit chunky and basic. And some strange colour choices at times. I picked up a bomb there. Now watch these tanks in the trees, because they will kill you very easily. Over to the ST. Right, going to wipe those out while we've one plane going. Right, now I can get a power up. And I've got up 4 bullets, I think, at once. Now the power-ups, like Xevious, for example, make your life so much easier. Really, the game gets pretty hard pretty quickly, and you have to have the power-ups, which you sadly lose when you lose a life. I think it'd be better if the game took you down perhaps one level of power-ups and not put you straight back on kind of single blaster or dual blaster. And on the PC, you start off with just one pathetic rocket or bullet or whatever it is. So I need to wipe all those out, and I should... Oh, I missed! This inertia really is annoying. Because this PC version, it might look rubbish, but actually it plays okay, but the inertia is annoying. However, you do get continues on the PC, hurrah! So we can have another go. But I'm woefully under-equipped already. There we go, power up there. Right, okay, now I get 2 bullets. I wasn't offered a VGA version, just EGA on the crack I found, or the version I found. Back to the Amiga, and I'm quite tooled up now. I am, however, invulnerable. Interestingly, there is a built-in cheat mode on the ST and the Amiga. The Amiga, you don't really need to get much. I think it's about 20,000 points, or perhaps even less than that, to be able to activate, do the high score cheat. The ST requires 50,000 points, which requires you to pretty much have completed level 1 and be into level 2, depending on how well you're doing, in order to get onto the bottom rung of the high score table. So we're on the 64, and oh yeah, on the ST I should thank Steve Green, who took pity on me and found me a trained version, because I simply couldn't get to 50,000 points. And level 1 on the 64, and on the 64 it's a multi-load. On the Spectrum and Amstrad it doesn't seem to be. Could be wrong there. Might be because I was playing on 128K machines. Although 1987 is quite early for a load all-in-one game, isn't it? Now, yeah, I picked out the power-up there. Sometimes the power-ups can bounce off the screen on some of these versions, and you won't be able to pick them up. Also, watch out for stuff coming from behind you from the sides when you're at the edge of the screen. Well, level 2 has a nautical theme. Got these landing craft there, and then suddenly this big plane that appears to be hovering in the sky. Look, it's not moving. Spectrum version starts at level 2. Just keep shooting. Just keep shooting. The coders have put their signatures on the screen there. And at the bottom left and bottom right of the screen, again to use up more screen real estate. I don't find it a particularly easy game, especially when on the Spectrum version, like some of the other versions, you're on some of the backgrounds and the bullets become hard to see. Over the sea, it's easier. It does feel like a grind-it-through game, though. You're just continually pushing on in the memory test, especially when things start appearing behind you and so on at the side of the screen when tanks come out of the trees. Amstrad version, we've got some ships to bomb. And the same thing on the ST. The game, in some ways, gives you a variety of landscape, but there's very little variety in the bad guys. It's the same planes, the same tanks, these formations here that you shoot for the bonus. Actually, in that time it was a score bonus, but it can be a weapons bonus. But I'm well tooled up now and invulnerable, and that's thanks to Steve Green, who found me that trained version. Now note the colour gradient here on the ST version when we come to the Amiga. Look, here we are. No extra Amiga colours used there, we've just taken the graphics from the ST and stuck them on. You blow the lids off the mountain things, whatever they are, and there's baddies inside. Since I've got infinite bombs on the 64, I might as well use them. Now, I don't know what's happening here. I think my game image is corrupted, or it might be a night level, who knows? But it suddenly went strange and suddenly everything's black. No idea. And here's the same bit on the Spectrum, the mountain things that are quite chunky and square. And I don't think you can shoot the lids off them, or the tops off them, on the Specky or Amstrad. Speaking of the Amstrad, we're on to level 3, which has a colour scheme where you can see the bullets. Hurrah! For green screen users, the colour of the planes is green, just like it is everyone else. Spectrum and Amstrad version do have little crashing animations that I don't think the 16-bits get. When you die and when the enemy planes die, they sometimes crash to the ground. And on the ST we do get a bit of a surprise. Suddenly this big boat comes in behind us as it comes into dock, and it's suddenly going faster than I'm flying, which I have questions about. How can a boat go faster than a plane? Surely I'll be stalling by now. One thing to watch out for is on the ST version and the Amiga version, you can go off the bottom of the screen partially. That's helpful to get away from things, but it also means it's hard to see. You can be killed without seeing what you've hit, basically. Just chucking a bit on the ST when a lot goes on the screen. In fact, on my highest score without cheating, my problem was when suddenly a lot of things started to happen on the screen, it slowed down so much, I got distracted and died. Back to the Amiga, and this will be level 4. There's a little bit more variation on the Amiga here. There's this railway section where you get to shoot the big, I don't know what they are. What kind of thing would run on 2 sets of rails? Unless it's a tank going down the railway track, I don't know. Gives you some variety. And replicated on the C64 with a particularly ugly over-enlarged sprite there. But hey, it gives you some action and a big thing to fight. And that's the end of level 4, I think. And suddenly on at the end of level 4 on the Spectrum, you seem to get these little command posts here you need to get past that fire a lot of bullets at you. And I think this is the end of the game on the Spectrum. Yeah. It just suddenly throws a lot at you for no reason. Just to make it particularly kind of busy, so you get this far in the game. Look at those little death animations. I love them, spinning around to the ground. And then we come down to land. And as far as I can see, level 5 on the Spectrum was repeating level 2, is it? I think this is level 2 now, it just loops around. Like the arcade loops round, but I think I'm right in saying on the Spectrum and the Amstrad, after level 4, it just loops round again and starts repeating previous levels. So here we are on the ST, end of level 4, and I take it back about this command post being placed there because they're on here as well. So interesting to see if this ST version loops round. I'm so tooled up now, the game's not giving me any more power-ups. Oh, just avoid those. Yeah, interesting to see what happens if the game's going to loop. Or indeed if that 64 version, which I swear was a separate level, a different level. Yeah, we take off again on the ST. Could this be level 2 again? It looks like it. But frankly, whatever the case, we've seen all we need to see of Flying Shark. Flying Shark, I'm afraid it's a rather Taito shoot 'em up by numbers. None of these home versions can really get away from the fact that the arcade game is rather middle of the road. It's not giving you much that you haven't seen before in vertical shoot 'em ups, and there's not even much variety as the game goes on. The 16-bit versions try to graphically emulate the arcade and do a reasonable job of that, except of course the vertical orientation of the arcade screen. SD version can chug a bit and the animation isn't that great, whereas at least the Amiga is fast and smooth, but boy, they've just taken the ST graphics, put them on the Amiga, not even any gradients on the C, for example, or just using the Amiga's colour palette properly. The 8-bit versions I can't really disagree much with, at least the ordering Ace gave their scores. C64 version, yes, it uses all the hardware, but it's rather dull and just doesn't really have the variety to drive the game along. It's a fault of the arcade, not the coders necessarily of the C64 version. The CPC and Spectrum, they shrink the sprites down, they keep it moving well. Spectrum version does, the CPC again chugs a little bit. Boredom again sits in, and the PC version, as well as boredom, is just ugly, which is, okay, it's an EGA thing, but it has to be said. I wouldn't go as far as that Lemon 64 reviewer who called it boring rubbish, but it does have a boring element to it because other than blowing those tops off the mountains, really, there's no big surprises in the game. Same kind of landscapes, all the same enemies, not even any big end-of-level baddies. Flying Shark was a middle-of-the-road shoot-'em-up in the arcade, and you know what? It is on the home system as well. But do check out the sequel on the Mega Drive. Played that thinking it was the same game. That, in fact, is 10 times better than this.